so that we will not be here until 3 o'clock. Um, I gonna worship God. All right, so um, yes, the book that I did was called Black Feminist Thought. It was a book by Patricia Hill Collins. The main idea of the book is the intersection between race and is that gender, sex, I guess, if you want to get technical. So basically talking about the plight of the Black woman. The way that I'm structuring out this presentation is so that you can understand the contrast between what we've learned in the class and the things that were presented in the book. So the first thing that we're going to do, I need to get a little bit of audience participation. I want to ask you guys a question just so that we can get on the same page as I go forward. First of all, in first wave feminism, what type of work did women do? Somebody raise their hand, answer it. Okay. Other than that, not necessarily like work as far as activism. I mean like work as, yes. Exactly. Where were they? All right, cool. So, women, let's start there. I don't know how to spell. Great. We're there. I'm going to spell a lot of things wrong as we continue, so just let it happen. So we start off with women. The first thing that we know is that they were working in the home, right? Equals home, right? How were they viewed also in society? Give me a couple of attributes. Okay, I can't spell that for sure. Subserve. Cool. All right, what else? Give me pretty. All right, real fine. Real fine. All right, can I get one more? There's one specifically that I'm looking for. Docile. Thank you so much. All right, docile. That's close enough. All right. The next one is how were they seen like sexually? Repressed. Okay, not only repressed. What kind of sexual? Okay, they really weren't sexual people. Non-sexual. Cool. All of that. Not sexy. And what was the other one that you guys said? Repressed. Okay, I'll take that. Usually their sex was for their husband specifically. That was the only time that they really wanted to have sex, and it was a means to an end for children, right? So for babies. Yes, cool. That one I got right. All right, so what about those words out there? Oh, how were the ones who did have a job seen? Okay, rebellious. With job. Good job. Rebel. Can y'all see that? All right. Manly. All right, cool. All right. We're gonna start there. As we continue on, I'm gonna start going into the things that were presented within the book. So when we look at around this time, first wave feminism was during the time of slavery, right? So African American women and their relationship to work was that they were always working. Even after slavery was abolished, they were always working. African American men were not given jobs. And if they were given a job, it was unstable and it was very low pay. So that means that African American women were able to have jobs in the home that were stable, so that they became the main proponents in the home. So African American women, we're gonna start Black queens. No, I'm just gonna say. We're gonna say they were always working. They had three main jobs. The first one that they had was that of the mammy, right? This is the houseworker, the worker that is seen as asexual. She is the one who nurtures the kids. She is the one who would breastfeed and take care of the white babies in neglect to her own babies most of the time. So you have the first one, you have the, we're gonna say house worker. House, worker. Bet. The second one that we had during that time was that of the field slave, right? The outside worker, the one who, as Majadi talked about, had the exact same job as a man. So she was out in the heat all of the time. There was a quote that was inside of my book that talked about how the slave owners would tell the man to pick up whatever load that they had and give it to the woman, and the woman would be the one who would carry the load. And so from there, she was seen as the mule. So we're gonna say outside worker, outside worker, vet. We're gonna say mammy. I'm gonna give you these here, mammy, mule. All right, and the very last one is that of the breeder woman slash Jezebel. The breeder woman was the woman who was given to the male slaves to have sex with so that she could produce more babies. She was also, in conjunction to that, there was also the Jezebel woman that when the slave owners would have company, she would be the one that they would give to the company, to the men that would come, basically to sleep with them. Start there. So we're gonna call that breeder woman. All right. So as we can see in the regards to the white women, the work of their home defined them specifically as subservient, asexual, and docile. Sexually, they were only meant for babies, which kept them in a pure state, right? And those who deviated from that, if they were some type of a prostitute, they were seen as kind of, like you said, a rebel and manly. But if we look at the way that society looked at those things, automatically black women were in that category because automatically they worked, meaning that they were manly. Automatically they were seen as really sexual and rebel, because this is the jobs that they had. So from that, when we look at this, let's go with Jezebel. I spelled that right? 1L? That's wrong. Anyways, so when we look at the relationship that white women and feminism has to this idea of womanhood and femininity, right? We see there's a correlation, kind of. So woman or feminine, any, any. Okay, bet. So for the white woman, femininity is a box that she is trying to get out of. For the black woman, femininity is something completely unable to be attained. Right? The idea of woman is something that black women cannot get to at all. Stop smiling at me, Majadi. You're making it hard. All right. How am I doing on time? About 8 minutes. Snap. What do I want to do? We're gonna get into it. All right. So, as these images of the black woman developed throughout society after slavery ended, right? African American, like I said before, African American women were still working in the homes, right? As we see it in today's culture, you see the idea of the matriarch. I don't know how that happened. The matriarch, A-R-C-H-E, being the mammy figure redefined, right? The matriarch is the black woman who has the entire family under her hands. In the black home, right? African American men are usually gone because of over policing and the justice system, amongst other things. But so there's usually a thing where the woman is the main person in the home. These women are usually the ones who take on children that are not their own. So you see a lot of times African American children being taken care of by the grandmother or some auntie or something. That brings about the matriarch figure. The matriarch figure is classified as somebody who doesn't have a husband ever. Either their husband has left them, they are gone, or they are quote unquote too strong for their husband, right? As we continue on, we go to the mule. The next one that we see is the woman who is high working, right? Most African, I don't remember what year it was, but African American women were the number one women graduating from colleges at one point in time. I don't remember what year it was. Google it. But what we see is this same person, the same mule, the same outside worker who was doing the jobs of men, has now become this, what's the word for it, Majadi? You told me, you said it inside of your presentation. See if I have it written down. The independent black woman. There it is. The independent black woman, which on the surface looks really good, but she is characterized by someone who is so man for herself that she doesn't need a man, right? So IND. Come on now. All right, so the last person that we see with the breeder woman slash Jezebel, we got the hoe, right? Which you see in our modern day culture a lot. So one specific story, because in truth, the image of the hoe was extremely hard for me because I realized that I've been socialized in this category a lot in my life. And so there is a story that my book tells about a woman named Sarah Bartman. Sarah Bartman in the 1800s was a slave in England who was sold to a circus and was a circus act simply because of her large behind. And women and men would gawk at the fact that her behind was so large. And so she would be taken to France into very nice events and would be told to walk around. And men and women alike, white women and white men alike, would gawk at how large her behind was. So much so that when she died, a predominant doctor at the time took her behind and her vagina and decapitated it, looked into it, basically trying to see if there was a deviant sexual behavior in African American women and African Americans, took her vagina and her behind and displayed it. It's interesting to note that, like, we see this very prevalent in our culture, although we are not dissecting people's booties. The large behind is something that is extremely glorified in our culture. So there's that. Let's continue on. All right, so after understanding all of this information, we get to the question of what is it that we wanted freedom from, right? African American women, what is it that they wanted freedom from? The first thing that they wanted freedom from was controlling images. As you can see, all of these things, our images, are the ways in which we are seen. And it's the idea that the way that you see me affects the way that you treat me. A huge way in which I'm sorry, I'm trying to go fast. A huge way in which we break that down is by consciousness raising. But the idea of consciousness raising to the African American is non-existent. Why? Because all African American women know that they are being oppressed. So instead of saying, hey, you are being oppressed, that is not what we're doing. Instead, we're giving them words and education. Saying, hey, this that you're feeling equals this. This is the definition behind what you're feeling. The next thing that we do is recognize that our family is our fuel. Where white women have sought to get rid of their family altogether and try to become workers in the home, or workers in order to push about society, black women realize that the children that we bear is our hope and our future. And so we must instill in them the correct image and the correct way to see themselves first. Also, they know that the jobs that they do does not point to who they actually are. That is a contrast. They do not mind doing jobs if they see themselves a specific way. So the main thing that they want freedom for is respect, right? So the images that they have for themselves, to respect themselves, to be seen as more than just asexual, manly, and extrasexual. They want to be seen as respected. They do not want to be seen as the same. That is very important to note. Black women, even today, do not want to be seen as the same. They want to be seen as equal. It's two different things. Just as the way that 5 plus 4 equals 9 and 3 squared equals 9, those are two different problems. One, my first grade class can do. The other one, they cannot. Both are equal to 9. I should have written that part on the board. Both are equal to 9, but they have different processes and understanding that need to be done before you could actually get to that image, that idea of 9. In the same way, white women have a different history, a different process, a different way of thinking but it equals image, right? Image of God. And in the same way, Black women have a specific understanding and process of which they go about life, and it equals image of God.